I want to talk about Troma, movies of the future, disruptors of media, America's oldest running independent movie studio, a self-contained punk movement of cinema with enough low-budget, genre-blending content to last a lifetime. Many know them for putting out schlock, and they most certainly do. Some of the best schlock in the biz, in fact. But if you make it past the slimy surface, you find all kinds of outsider films. You get everything from surreal to disturbing to genuinely funny. You might be surprised with moments of reality both touching and challenging. And yes, dare I say, the occasional stroke of genius, with familiar faces along the way. For those of us drawn to the craft of filmmaking, Troma is so much more than its gnarled aesthetic. Co-founders Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz are two of the most formidable advocates of truly independent art. They don't always align with today's political climate.
Call me a dirty monkey.
But their fearless approach and willingness to offend has often landed them ahead of the curve, releasing trans and all kinds of minority-driven films long before Hollywood got woke. They were never afraid to call out the powers that be.
I can make you both big stars!
While the rest of the world was fast asleep. Whether it's a fight against net neutrality or the unfair practices of the MPAA, Troma has always been on the front lines fighting for their rights and the rights of the little guys. And by discovering some of the industry's most unique voices, they've secured their status as trailblazing motherfuckers. Lloyd and Michael never went to film school, and instead studied business at Yale, graduating alongside George W. and Oliver Stone. Lloyd took a break from college to join the Peace Corps in Chad as a pathfinder. When he returned, he followed his passion by directing his experimental debut, The Girl Who Returned. After graduating, Lloyd worked for director John Avildsen. They went on to release Cry Uncle together. When Avildsen got the gig for Rocky, he hired Lloyd and a pre-Troma team to help with shooting on location in Philadelphia. Similarly, Lloyd worked on Saturday Night Fever and My Dinner with Andre. Kaufman and Hertz formed Troma in 1974 and began producing sexy comedies, riding off the success of Animal House. Of this era, I would recommend Sugar Cookies, a collaboration with Oliver Stone, and The First Turn On, which has a fun, traumatic self-awareness. It wasn't until 1985 that the company found their own voice with a cult classic, The Toxic Avenger, about how a scrawny janitor transforms into Jersey's own hideously deformed superhero of superhuman size and strength. The character also serves as a company mascot. The movie was released in '84, but it took about a year of midnight screenings to catch on. With some of the most memorable scenes and hints of sweetness to mitigate the violence, it's easy to see why this is a fan favorite, along with their follow-up, Nuke 'Em High. But as a child of the 90s, I consider the golden age of Troma to have started in 1996, when the Troma team collaborated with an up-and-coming screenwriter. James Gunn was able to contain Kaufman's chaotic style in iambic pentameter.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Totally sucks.
Okay, well, the whole thing wasn't exactly iambic pentameter, despite the urban legend. However, Romeo and Juliet did find a sweet spot of elegance and punk in a way I've never seen before. This is the one I recommend the most. Even the extras are on point. It shows a level of effort that's enough to make the obligatory fart sounds and non sequiturs fit nicely as window dressing to a great work of art. God, I love this movie. Being an outspoken fan of Bergman and the auteur theory, Lloyd spent his career developing a unique directing style. The films of Kaufman and Hertz always seem to tackle a socio-political message. The plot often aligns with the studio's constant David and Goliath struggle against the Hollywood system. The protagonist is usually an unlikely wimp of a hero going up against authoritative forces. Practical effects are most important. Mistakes are sometimes left in to sort of wink at the audience. There's usually party scenes with lots of movement. Lloyd likes to use heavy-set actors to fill up the screen. There's always room for self-promotion.
This is a Troma movie.
But it doesn't take away from their punk cred, which I would attribute in great part to movements like the Troma Dance Film Festival, which was held yearly in Salt Lake City at the same time as Sundance, to offer a free alternative to filmmakers and fans that refused to buy into the Robert Redford elite. Or the Dog Pile 95 movement that mocks Lars von Trier and Thomas Vinterberg's Dogma 95. Instead of a vow of chastity, Dogpile hits filmmakers with the bow wow vow of fast and shitty, which essentially disavows any system of rules for filmmaking and instead prioritizes artistic vision and encourages filmmakers to make the best movie they can with whatever resources they have. To go along with his films, Lloyd offers fans some of the most telling behind-the-scenes footage and interviews. Part of his mission as a director is to share everything he learns, mistakes and all, so more young directors can realize their celluloid, but most likely digital, dreams despite their lack of resources. When you're watching movies to learn, even the failures have great value. Being a chronic student of film, I caught the Troma bug at age 16. Before that, all the indie films I was introduced to seemed so out of reach. Troma, on the other hand, made it all feel so possible. I bought about 30 of their films, read these books, from which I learned the head-crushing trick that I put in all my high school films.
Oh my God!
I then went on to intern at Troma's office in Long Island City. I was starstruck by Lloyd, who always looks like he's fleeing the scene of an accident, but is otherwise a real down-to-earth and cool dude. And Michael, who is as low-key as his media absence suggests. And while I can't boast the achievements of their most prestigious alum, I do rent a studio apartment in a pretty decent part of town. It's good to see Troma going strong today. At 74 years old, Uncle Lloyd is still willing to do this. They're still discovering new talent, like Kansas Bowling. Troma released her feature debut when she was 19. Couple years later, she's in a Tarantino flick. Sweet. If you're a movie nut looking to spice up your movie watching experience, or a filmmaker desperate to find a home for your weird ass movie, or your gross ass movie, or even your stupid ass movie, try Troma. Of course.
Don't give up the fight for truly independent cinema!
Hey guys, thinking about making your own movie? Who isn't? Check out our podcast, The Cinematic Pursuit, available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and Simplecast. We talk to filmmakers about their journey from dreams to distribution in painstaking detail. It is invaluable information and way more free than film school.